Hello, everyone. My name is Chester Drum. I'm a medical doctor and co-founder of the AOKpass company and health registration system. We've been working extensively with many of our stakeholders and, of course, the International Chamber of Commerce. We've had an amazing journey from the beginning of the concept of how to authenticate health records across international borders to now some really great implementation cases. And so I was asked to present and create this video to give you a little bit of background of both kind of how we got to where we are, and now as we cross as we cross into real world implementations and actual solutions rather than pilots and concepts, we've learned quite a bit along the way. First of all, I want to make absolutely clear that I'm available personally if any of you would like to ask questions or even consider this specific technology as a solution. And if not, hopefully we can provide a little bit of insight in terms of both the good and bad of what it takes to get these types of systems running. So I believe I'm sharing my screen here. So the technology is called AOKpass, and it's partnered with multiple stakeholders, and even more stakeholders than are on this presentation, which, by the way, is key. You need an absolutely large international network in order to make any of these programs work, and that's why it's difficult. So moving forward to the first slide, you all know the International Chamber of Commerce, an amazing organization that's been around for 100 years and makes rules that govern how trade happens across borders and how even bills of lading for shipping and even trade disputes ultimately are resolved. So because they operate at such a large, truly international scale, that makes them a perfect partner for especially sovereign implementations, where countries may be advised by the International Chamber of Commerce, and now potentially there might be a role for how AOKpass can be used in a way that recapitulates some of the themes of trade. International SOS is formally our co-founder. So they're a private company, a large private company that provides medical services to about 70% of all Fortune 500. They have large government contracts, and they truly have a global presence in terms of 90,000 affiliated clinics, laboratories, and medical services. They also own a company called MedAir, and MedAir is specifically health services to airlines. So of course that becomes valuable when we're thinking about the international travel space. SGS is a company that some of you may work with. They do certification and implementation contractual services for even much in the tourism and travel industry. Health record authentication services and certification services are well within their interest as well. These are just three of our initial partners, and that's grown as our project has taken flight. But it's important to have committed, internationally present partners in order to have the types of networks it requires, to make these systems work. So key features of our particular solution, GDPR compliance is absolutely key. You'll hear more and more about the Green Pass initiative coming up, but even the Green Pass vis-a-vis its own GDPR issues is not entirely trivial, how to implement that correctly. Large medical provider networks are key. The authentication of results is also extremely important because the higher value venue, the higher value event or activity, the more incentive there is for people to use things like Photoshop and change their results and engage in other types of activities which may not be true to course. So we'll kind of move along, and if someone would like these slides, they're perfectly welcome to them. This is an example of one of the international networks. We have spent a lot of time in the airline space, and actually two of our busiest airports aren't even on this slide, which is LAX and SFO. We can come back to that, but I think that travel, tourism, and events actually perfectly synergizes with international travel networks, because oftentimes it is the international arrivals that often will spend the most external money in your local economies, and that is particularly valuable, of course. To be clear, this particular technology is a cryptographic technology. So when you have your medical information or medical certificate and you want to present that, either to go into maybe a concert or a hotel or a bar or whatever you want to do, or even get on a plane, you can show the information. But what this person actually verifies is what we call a hash, or a cryptographic proof that this information is valid. And that just means that a lot of personal information, a lot of digital information in terms of your health, et cetera, is all wrapped together in terms of one, shall we say, cryptographic signature. And it's impossible to take that cryptographic signature and ever recreate all of that personal information. So it's a one-way security encryption that cannot go the other direction. And that's why in theory, this would be the optimal way to handle the presentation of health information, which may be sensitive, but at the same time allow near complete personal privacy protections. So I'll just say technically one of the reasons that we've had some success is that we adopt multiple standards for data entry and also multiple standards for verification. This list has grown significantly since this, but the idea is we have different certificates for different purposes. So maybe, as you're boarding an airplane in Rome, and this is the case, most of their testing is done at the airport. Then on your arrival, if you arrive, for example, in Singapore, you can use the native AOKpass standard to cross immigration in Singapore. But you may go somewhere else. So maybe you're tested here and you arrive in the United States. Well, then you would need a slightly altered certificate for that route, because there are different information input and verification standards. So the way we solve that problem is by creating different certificates. And to wit, one of those certificates could easily be even a ticket to a venue or a complimentary certificate to enter a venue. And that's where we feel that we've had good success in the sovereign, domestic implementation case, which I'll come to. So these are just some of our partners. We've also worked on ships. Ships are a lot of fun because people get stuck on ships for a long time, and if you can get them off, they're very happy. So this is a ship that's landing in Thailand port, Songkhla port, and they were happy to disembark after about 6 months on the boat. So here's a vaccine use case, and we are working with very large-scale vaccine information providers, both in the EU and US. Likewise, this is one of our early implementations with Etihad, going from Pakistan to UAE, and indeed, we really learned a lot in terms of complementing the needs of both smartphone sophisticated users, but also users that only use printed materials. And that's a slightly different kettle of fish when you need to do document authentication throughout an international travel network. This is a very busy route at the moment to San Francisco and outlying regions from France. This is through a group called ADP. They own a lot of airports around the world, including Charles de Gaulle. But just making the point that we do a fair amount of travel network implementations. This is what San Francisco Airport looks like. It's an easy install. You just show where to get the digital solution, and then we sort of take care of the rest. And then this is a check-in of using our system with Air France, et cetera. And also, this slide is here. These are some of the fast lanes that are provided for pass holders. And so, providing a value to that individual really helps adoption rates. Sometimes when there's, a non-authenticatable parallel technology that could be used, i.e. just filling out a form, it's a little bit difficult to get to somebody to go through all the trouble of using a high authentication standard technology. So at the end of the day, you have to provide some sort of benefit for doing that. And in our case, doing fast lanes at the airport, et cetera, seems to work reasonably well. So we'll flip through some of our airport implementations. Working with large IT providers, there are a set of companies that create the information technology inside of airports. And so it's key to engage them in terms of integration as well, if you're ever going to create that seamless experience, which to date, no one, including us, has really done yet. But we're working every day to try and make it happen. There's a lot of links in that chain. Also with reward systems, like networks of airlines. So this is a slide that's particularly relevant to this group. This is work we did in the region of Catalan with the city of Girona. They have a population of about 800,000, and they wanted to restart their economic activity. There's no shortage of people who like to have fun in Catalonia. You probably know that if you've been there yourself, plus a bit of good food as well. They wanted to do antigen tests and also provide information from COVID vaccinations. So we used our privacy-preserving blockchain technology to engage with the Girona Chamber of Commerce and a blockchain professional organization there. And what was interesting is we also, you have to have a source of the information, right, an issuer. So in this setting, we used a pharmacy organization, which worked out very well. The qualities that made that a success were, pharmacists are professionally trained. They understand medical information. They can do sometimes simple testing. So sometimes at the site of the pharmacy, they can do a sample collection for the COVID test. And then many pharmacies also provide vaccination services. And then because they're a pharmacy, they have a little bit more of that retail interaction, a little bit more so than a doctor's clinic, which would involve a waiting room and some of these. So, that made the interaction fairly easy as well. And even right now, we see a great number of AOK passes generated every day in this region as that system continues to prosper and provide clearance certification to meet the local rules of the Catalonian / Girona territory or city. So those rules, of course, are defined by public health and government standards. Ultimately, our technology allows those rules to be implemented. And of course, we don't dictate the rules, but we feel that we can complement the vast majority of regulations existent in different countries. And if you do it correctly, you get the media gives you some attention, and you get all these happy customers and beautiful restaurants going in, having been cleared for their COVID and having the excellent Catalan food. I get the impression that every restaurant in Girona is excellent. And you really can see an uptick in economic activity fairly clearly when you have the security of health records authentication from a digital format that traces all the way back into the issuance standard provided by that medical professional. And especially when you couple that with a widely distributed clinical network, of which pharmacies are a pretty good place to start, those have the qualities of really getting things moving. So if anybody would like any further information, or even to partner on a pilot / implementation strategy, we'd be more than happy to engage on that. And so we do work directly with the World Health Organization and vaccine companies for their solutions as well. This is a final picture of what it looks like. And we certainly can provide a walkthrough of the application and its technology and how it would be implemented. Again, those certificates, we create a certificate within hours. So, a certificate per use can absolutely be considered if the regulations that govern that use may be different from case to case. And until the whole world agrees on one standard and one clinical set of requirements, we're going to need different, segmented standards for different use cases. And that's exactly, what I feel that we've had the foresight to build within our system. So here, I think we're just getting to the end of the slides. We can always come back to this as another traveler workflow. These are some of the stakeholders and direct engagees. And it's really just an absolute global community effort. And so that's the summary of our discussion. I can, if you want a really nice video, you can look. The Wall Street Journal did a great feature on us, which was actually very, very good. So if you just type in Wall Street Journal and AOKpass, you can see a nice summary. So we're of course available at AOKpass.com, and you can take the email address there, or you can email me directly at chester@aokpass.com, and I'm more than happy to connect. So thank you very much for listening today. And it's an exciting space, and it's even more exciting because things are actually starting to work after a very long period of difficulty. But never underestimate how easy this stuff is, because I mean, literally, you have companies that have created a vaccine de novo and implemented a vaccine faster than you can get countries to agree on digital standards for sharing information. And I think that's a little bit of a reflection of some of the challenges that we face as well. So, some of these things really are working, and in the next 6 months, you're going to see some major changes. And I'd like to think that at AOKpass, we are absolutely one of the leaders in staying abreast of those changes, in addition to pushing the front edge of that technology into real world use cases, which actually is even a little bit more of a challenge than just talking about the concept. So feel free to reach out, and we would absolutely love to find more partners for our network. And make both the network and our technology stronger. So thank you very much for the time today.